I'll make it quicker. Zach Wilson seen as a quitter because Diana Rossini reported it. That in his locker room at his age doesn't seem worth it at any age to keep going back out there.
You're also not including the context that's very helpful of what his face looks like, because that's not helping.
No.
They don't like him.
What do you mean? Like he's got
His
a little
face.
baby face?
No, his face. It just doesn't help. And all that Zach Wilson is, and you saw how the locker room turned against him when he answered questions improperly, I guess, last season. It cost him his job to Mike White. And I do understand where Aaron Rodgers was coming from in criticizing the nature of the league, but Diana Rossini is a very reputable reporter. So someone in that organization or some people in that organization feel like this is so, that Zach Wilson did not want to assume starting duties once again, which is terrible in that sport. It's just a tough look in the locker room.
Whose face could we have replaced his face with that we'd feel better about him with?
None.
It's a punchable face. But what I'm asking, I felt like Aaron Rodgers confirmed that the report was true by turning on his organization. Like, I thought that was just confirmation. Now, I understood Aaron Rodgers' point after that. Like, what kind of, and this isn't directed at Diana Rossini. She's exceptional at her job. But I understand how Aaron Rodgers would look at that and say, what kind of parasite profits off of wrecking this kid in a culture where the carnivores are going to eat him? They're going to eat him. It's already a bad job, Jets quarterback. But this particular guy, under the pressures that I wouldn't want a young person I cared about under. I would not want the pressure of New York on my kid if my kid was Zach Wilson. Like, football's culture is not equipped, and the media is not going to be respectful or kind enough to actually care at all about, let's just say, Zach Wilson's mental health.
Let's give it up for the Jets here. I think we got to give it up for the Jets. Thought they were playing for a Super Bowl this year with Aaron Rodgers. Now have probably the most mismanaged quarterback room in the NFL between not trying to replace Aaron Rodgers, starting Zach Wilson, benching Zach Wilson, wanting to start Zach Wilson again. Like, absolute disaster in management from them, in my opinion.
But I find this part fascinating as Browning on Monday night shows up, and they're so unscientific that they don't know how to evaluate these quarterbacks. And Tim Boyle, worst for 3 years, is one of their starters because after being the worst quarterback in college football for 3 years. Man, do you understand when they talk about winning and losing organizations? And Stugotz is going to have Joe Beningo on God Bless Football, the guy who was texting back and forth with Robert Saleh. Do you guys realize the space that we're in with some of this stuff where you've got – I think you should play the Rambling Man song again because I've lost my way and it's in my head.
You're doing great. I just don't understand what we're doing. I mean, Zach Wilson is a 24-year-old man.
Well, but he doesn't look like it in that picture.
So that's what you're doing.
Yes, he doesn't look like it in the picture.
Same age as Trevor Lawrence.
Yes, but
who's been in our lives for like a decade, it feels.
I feel bad for him because the mentality of I don't want to play with these guys makes you sound like a coward and quitter. So Diana Rossini is reporting what I believe to be the truth of the story in the organization. But if they think he's a coward and quitter, and she's just reporting the truth, you've just done something to Zach Wilson that Aaron Rodgers is objecting to as an organization. And if I put Zach Wilson in San Francisco, what do you think it would look like? Maybe it would look terrible too. Maybe it would look like Trey Lance. But this is what losing organizations do, because now Salah's got to cover his ass. He's the one in the toothpaste commercials. Like, he's got to cover his ass on, well, this isn't my fault. It's not my fault that the quarterback can't play. The general manager before me got him. This isn't on me. It's on somebody else. And all of that pressure goes to bed at night with Zach Wilson. That's the pressure of the position. And maybe he's equipped for it, but I wouldn't have been at 24. And I don't think many people at 24 would be. Like, I would not have been equipped for that at 24 years old. The hell that is raining down on his head where Joe Namath and everyone else are just ready for him to be terrible at quarterback and then jump on his neck.
Well, it's awful for the kid, but it also, I think this example shows how flimsy all of this really is with organizations and who we give credit to in terms of, You look at the Patriots and you considered them this great organization for all of these years, and something like this, where the Jets were considered to be Super Bowl favorites, would have been one of the very best teams in the league had Aaron Rodgers been healthy. Boom. The moment that he's gone, they're the worst quarterback room. They don't know how to manage anything. They're an incompetent organization. You look over at the Patriots in division, and you see somewhat of the same thing. The moment that Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, is gone, Belichick looks like he doesn't know how to run an organization. And it just shows really how all of this is so minuscule and really just comes down to, do you have a Hall of Fame quarterback or do you not have a Hall of Fame quarterback?
You look ridiculous.
I love quarterback analysis coming seriously from under there. I wish it had more analytics in it. Like, I want that character to be a super serious character instead of being the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, a little too happy, a little too joyous. I want all your thoughts on the journalism of this as an Emmy winner. Like,
London was born a rambling man.
Here's a question. Who in the room wouldn't be reluctant to play quarterback for the Jets? For real? I mean, come on.
I mean, it seems like Aaron Rodgers is the only guy that's dying to get out there. It's just
Everyone's
odd.
like, I'm good. I don't think. I mean, he's not going to play for the Jets next year, right? What does he actually benefit from starting the next few games?
Didn't
What if
RG3
he
want to be
gets
the
hurt?
starter?
RG3 definitely wants to be
All right, there's
your
two
starter.
people. There's two people.
It's almost like the kids who sit out for NIL purposes, deciding like, all right, I'm going to sit out the rest of this season, not risk an injury because I think I can get more money by not coming back and playing hurt and having like a bad last few games. Leave on a high. Zach Wilson, this isn't necessarily a high, but it can only continue to get worse.
Because, look, he's got to worry about a career. I'm going to say something right now
As
that
a
may shock
broadcaster.
you. I'm going to say something right now that may shock you. I don't think Zach Wilson's a QB1. What? Okay? I don't. But there is a nice little career for QB2s in this league.
He was not supposed to be QB1 this year. He was QB2.
Well,
That's
I think
why they kept him
well,
to be
what
the backup.
What a QB2 needs to do is be ready at a moment's notice. And if you have a guy that you are considering as your QB2 when he hits the open market, this is data. That's an important data point. A guy that doesn't want to go out there on the field, reportedly.
He did say it was absolutely not true. Worth noting.
I feel like he's got XFL written all over him.
It's no longer the X. We can talk about it another day.
can I just examine for a second?
Wait, what happened to the XFL?
It looks like it's you. It's just terrible branding play. The UFL already failed, and the XFL has been a massive success each of the 3 times it's tried to
Good,
be
we can
one.
get rid of that godforsaken photo of me now.
Now it's the XFL.
She's right. Former.
I mean, if you want to talk about it, I'm very excited about the merger and the fact that several XFL teams are no longer going to exist, and they just hit pause on it, but we actually get to see. You guys aren't interested.
I wanted
Hakeem Butler just signed a letter of intent to go back to the Battlehawks. It's a big deal.
to talk about how the Jets have ruined Zach Wilson and how organizationally you have to reach in and support someone at that position of this age.
They supported him plenty.
Mike.
How many games did Rob Saleh have to answer the question, he's our starter, he actually played kind of well? How many times did he lie through his teeth? Like 5 different times? At least.
I'm not saying he's good at football. We have no evidence that he's good at football. But what I'm saying is to be bad at football is to be chewed up by that culture of football and the reporting around it in a way that would fall on anybody's head and make it very hard to overcome when you're playing poorly. They've ruined Zach Wilson. Now you can come out, you can say, I never thought he was QB1. Fair enough.
No, I mean, he had potential. Like, it's not like Tim Boyle. We've seen Zach Wilson be good at football before. I'll push back at that notion. He was good at football. Well, he was pretty good in that Chiefs
A
game.
lot of people would have drafted him because he had the quarterback talents. And what I'm
He
saying
went
is
number 2 overall.
everything that's happened since then has not lived in support of that. Once you start losing and everyone goes for ass covering, once you start losing and you have an organization that has failed for 40 years, the culture of it ends up...
London was born a rambling man, talking to guests and doing the best he can. But when it's time for greed and no one understands, why like Dan the